Welcome to Deep Thought. Small things tell you about bigger things. Sweat the details. Always pay attention to something little. Like in the last episode, I talked about the symbols and everything, and they can be very small, but it can tell you a whole lot. Especially someone could be dangerous. Like you have plenty of subcultures which they're negative. They're negative, they're even dangerous, but they will have some type of symbol. And if you learn to pay attention to that, you could actually save your own life. But, you know, I don't want to stick on that too deeper level, but it's something to consider. But it can also give you insight into things. And, you know, I thought about this because I was at a Golden Corral with my sons. They love it. They love it, and they growing and everything. And I was like, and I know I'm cool with a few of the young ladies there because they used to me, but I was like looking at them overall. I'll say, you know, all of them got the same, most of them had the same general look. And I was like, that's interesting, because there's a IHOP in my area as well. And I was like, man, they only like fat asses. No, I actually thought about that, and I was like, and one of the things I do when I go into a restaurant, business, everything, I pay attention to it. It tells you a whole lot. Like certain stores, they'll have the same, the people will have the same look. In fact, there was a documentary I mentioned before, and some of y'all might have seen it on Abercrombie and Fitch, and it was a big deal because for the longest time, they only hired and had public people of a certain look. And in fact, a good friend told me about how her son was working at a similar type of store, but because his look didn't look like a fashion model. And I ain't gonna mention the store, but it's not Abercrombie and Fitch, but it's a similar store. Because he didn't look like a fashion model, he was only allowed to work in the back. And, you know, it could tell you something, you know, you look at like going any business or anything. It tells you something about the owner. It could tell you something about the culture. It could be the local culture or the national culture. It tells you a whole lot. And that's just one example. You know, sweat the smaller things. It can provide clues. The smaller things or the smaller patterns in things can tell you a whole lot. Like if I'm, okay, let me use a business example. Let's say I wanted to open up a bookstore. And let's say I wanted to do mainly success books, which that's in the back of my mind to still do, because as a tangent, there was a store called Series, I believe the name was. Some of y'all might remember it. And they went out of business years ago, but you go in, everything was about success. Everything was about success. But then when I remember the last Series, the last couple, they were always in a location where the people had money. So let's say I wanted to open a bookstore like that or something like that. Okay, I'm walking through a mall and I'm like scouting the mall. Like incidentally, and this is more for the business people, if you want to open a store somewhere, check out the neighborhoods at different times, the locations. So like just go through, see who's actually going to be in that place. But anyway, a small thing I would pay attention to is like, okay, how are these people dressed? How are they wearing their hair? What kind of cars are in the parking lot? And that would tell me a lot about the nature of the people. And yeah, of course, you know, they got plenty of resources online about any area's demographics, but then you want to see it yourself. You don't even need to pay for it because they charge thousands for that. You can find some free stuff, but the best stuff is they charging money. But you can learn a lot, because here's the thing. If you open in a business, you need to know who you're going to interact with. So you might walk through and like, okay, if I'm walking through some place, I was like, okay, what's the racial composition? You got to pay attention to every little thing. What kind of spirituality do they practice? Does it look like? What symbols am I seeing? You know, how they cutting their hair, everything. Even in like using the same example, if I'm going through a black neighborhood, okay, people say, well, they all black. It's like, hold up. Are they the type who will buy what I'm selling? How many of them look like that they will want some success stuff. You know, which stores in this mall, it could be something as simple, okay, which stores in this mall is most busy? Okay, what are they selling here? Oh, it's mostly discount stuff, cheaper stuff, but it's the busiest. They might not want what I'm selling. Boom. So you pay attention to all of that. You're in a neighborhood, pay attention to the small things. Like where I am now, it's a lot of it's like a lot of professionals making some money, all of them walking dogs. I almost feel like I need to get a dog, you know? But they look a certain way, they style their hair a certain way, wearing certain types of clothes. And, you know, hairstyles, beard styles, all of that stuff. And I was like, okay. But it's in contrast to where I'm just coming from, which was the reason why I moved from that area where I'm coming from. It is a totally different look. And people say, oh, those are small things. No, they tell you a lot. They tell you a lot. As I said, and I've said consistently, generously, communication is only 10% verbal. Most of it tells you, like, what's the area, you know, what's going on. You know, like, let me use that area example again. I was communicating with somebody, I think on Facebook, and they were asking me about DC, you know, where to hang out. This was a black man. And I was just like, you know, I haven't lived there in over 15 years, nearly 17 years in the area, in DC itself since the 90s. I was living outside of it in Virginia and then Maryland, and it's changed a whole lot. I don't know what the area looks like, you know? But I remember I was down there for some business one time, and I was driving through this previously very bad neighborhood. And I was like, wow, there's a lot of yoga studios, younger looking like upper middle class white women walking around with dogs, you know, walking their dogs. I remember the time, it was so bad in the neighborhood, even black people didn't want to walk through there if they didn't live there. But here's the thing, you pay attention to all of that, then it can tell you about something bigger. It could be that slight clue. It could be that slight clue. Like, sweat the details. Sweat the details. And then just learn stuff. Like in general, and this is in general, learn about cultures, be open to people. You know, even if it's just, you know what, just, you could do it nowadays, just punch in certain things on YouTube and see, okay, what's there? Who's talking about this? You know, what are they talking about? What type of homes? That's something else too, even if you're going through a neighborhood. Pay attention. It's like, how do they keep their lawns in this neighborhood? How much trash is on the ground? That tells you a lot. Tells you a lot, you know? So always pay attention to small things, just like you're doing on something else. It can tell you about something bigger. All right. So anyway, that's all I have for today. Keep rising, everyone. Peace and blessings.